protect yourself energetically from negativity. That includes from family members, or your spouse. Hey folks, welcome back. This is Mark Devine with the Unbeatable Mind podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it very much. Today we'll do another solo cast, follow up from my Q&A solo cast I did recently. I only got through about half the questions. So we're going to take a look at the rest, and we'll see how that goes. Before I get into it, still pushing hard on our Burpees for Vets challenge. Our goal is 22 million. We're not going to stop until we're done. So if you haven't done anything about it, then consider supporting us in that initiative, either by jumping in and choosing a number of burpees or by supporting my team or my effort. Recently, we did the Burpee World Record Initiative. You can learn about that at burpeesforvets.com. And I'm recording this a little bit before then, but I'm going to assume or make a claim that we'll be at about 15 million burpees by the time this show is published, because we're few weeks after I record is usually when we publish. So 15 million. We're going for 22 million burpees. We're doing it to raise awareness and money to put some veterans who are suffering from post-traumatic stress through an Unbeatable Mind immersion with a follow-on program of 18 months of coach support. We know that, building purpose again, helping with a team, giving them a team and accountability and a coach, and all the tools of Unbeatable Mind that we've been talking about in these podcasts are going to be really, really effective and helpful. But more important is the awareness, right? Because, we can only, impact individually maybe 40 or 50 vets next year with the resources. And so for me, it's equally important that we get awareness and some information out there so everyone can be part of this solution here. burpeesforvets.com. Check it out. I do appreciate it. Now, there were a couple questions that I meant to get to last time on burpees, so let me start with those since I've already talked about burpees. So Matt K says, curious where I should be with time for burpees. I did strict burpees Saturday in 37 minutes. I assume he's talking about 300. I'm not sure. But what's a good goal to shoot for? Well, for this initiative, time isn't important. Now, for the world record attempt, time was important, but for most people, this is just about getting them done. Having said that, I like the idea of some variety. I don't want to get bored and do the same protocol every single day. I've done 300 burpees a day since January, so I've changed things up a little bit. And this actually makes sense because the second question, John says, what has the impact of doing 300 burpees a day been in my body? Do you do standard burpees or do you incorporate alternative versions? Well, let me answer these together. One of the more challenging protocols I've done is to do 10 burpees on the minute, every minute for 30 minutes. So now you're doing 330 minutes. And, you're getting a pretty intense workout in. I could do it quicker, but that's going to be, that would be like like a competitive event. I remember during the CrossFit Games a few years ago, they had max number of burpees in 7 minutes. And I ended up doing 126 in 7 minutes, which I thought was pretty good. I was just smoked. And then I saw some of these other CrossFitters just destroy that number. So I'm like, oh my God, they're moving fast. At any rate, it doesn't matter how fast. So, maybe one of your protocols is like the minute on the minute, doing 10 every, minute for 30 minutes. That gives you your 300 that way. But another protocol that I really, really like is doing sets of 20. And on the 20th rep, or right after the 20th rep, I will pause and do a little practice, not burpee practice, but mental Unbeatable Mind practice. I will do some breathing and my mantra and visualization. So spend about 30 seconds in practice, and calming down and, preparing for the next round. And then you just launch into the next round. And that has become a very, very nice way to turn these 300 burpees into an integrated training daily practice, which is really what we try to do in Unbeatable Mind. So I'm eating my own dog food there. And another protocol I've used is doing 3 sets of 100. And that's a challenge because that's sort of like a stamina workout. So I'll crank out 100 burpees, take about 2-minute break, then do, the second set and then the third set. I've done that a few times with, the Kokoro camp and the 20X teams. So, it's something great to do that protocol with a team. And it's a nice challenge. Definitely have to embrace the suck for that one. So, I think you get the point there. Try some variety and make sure you're training your whole body, mind, and spirit, and that you're really connected to your why. This has been a no excuses type training for us because the why is to support the vets. The commitment is solid, 100,000 burpees. I'm not going to waver. In fact, I'm going to end up doing a lot more, probably be like 108 or 10. And yeah, I wake up every day and I know those burpees are in front of me and it doesn't bother me. I look forward to it. That's the way you got to get with these types of things. It's just, you choose something that's challenging, you work your way up to where it's easy and enjoyable, and your commitment is unwavering. No excuses. Easy day. All right, so let me get back into some of the Unbeatable Mind questions from Competitive Edge Skating. Jennifer asks, how do you think we can help more people embrace vulnerability, connection, and seeing the importance of helping one another, especially using training as a platform? Well, I like that last part. So let me talk about it in the context of training. How do we use training to help people embrace vulnerability, connection, and the importance of helping one another? That's really what we tried to accomplish with our Crucible training through SEALFIT, the 20X and the Kokoro programs, was to help people see that, they're not in this alone. The idea or the age of the staunch individualist is pretty much over. It was a fantasy to begin with, and it's led to a lot of problems. I know it's got a little bit of a sex appeal and some of the imagery of John Wayne and Robert Redford and all these actors who played the staunch individualists on the Western frontier. That's the American entrepreneur now is kind of like taking that role up. Even the entrepreneurs know, or they'll say, yeah, that's an image. It's not reality. Like, Elon Musk, he's got a lot of attention and he's doing some amazing things, but he obviously hasn't done this alone. Like, he has a serious team behind him at SpaceX and at Tesla and the rest of his initiatives. It is a serious team effort, and a leader basically has to inspire the team and help the team, bring out the best in themselves and in the organization. So if you're someone who is either, leading a team as a coach, like Competitive Edge Skating is, or any really area, it could be a corporate team, it could be your family team, then to think of the team as the developmental petri dish, right? So the team is where you're there not to compete, but to cooperate. You're there to help bring each other up to achieve the team mission. We're acknowledging that we don't, we have various strengths and weaknesses and cultural backgrounds and whatnot, and to embrace the best and to help people overcome maybe the worst or the not so good in themselves. This is why political correctness is so horrific when it comes to development, because it just stunts growth. But brutally honest communications are really important. Learning how to communicate in a way that helps elevate another person while exposing them to their own weaknesses or to their own failings is really important. And that's what a good team and a coach who's trained in Unbeatable Mind can do. Because ultimately then the team will start to connect and care for each other more, and that connection and caring will then extend beyond the local into the regional into the global community. So once we unlock that developmental path, that care, connection, and concern begins to expand beyond egocentric into ethno and then world-centric arenas. So that's what we're looking for. And training as a team with a team and looking at the team as a developmental platform, so to speak, is crucial, right? So how do we do that? You don't just show up and work out and leave. It's not all about the physical. It's equal about the physical, the mental, and the emotional. We use what happens during a training evolution, good and bad, to help people grow and to understand, to see things differently. When we're training as an individual, we're not just caring about our own excellence and our own awesomeness, but we want to make sure that the team is awesome, and that I'm willing to set my own needs aside or my own ego aside to help my teammate, even if it means like when the CrossFit Games, I used to do this all the time, or in our the way we used to train, not in the CrossFit Games, but in our workout. So you have one eye on yourself and one eye on your teammates. And if you see someone failing or doing something that's going to get himself injured, or even worse, you see them cheating, then, you take a moment to hold them accountable, and, you're going to set your stuff down and pause, and you're going to sacrifice some reps or sacrifice your score, whatever it is, to really help this individual grow. I think that's really critical. And I think that's, the best coaches are doing that, and those teams are crushing it. So we're working with some professional sports teams right now through Unbeatable Mind, and this is the type of training that we're bringing to them, and it's really having an impact, I think. Excited about that. Great question. Thank you very much. Hey, folks. I want to tell you about a product developed by a friend of mine, Navy SEAL Dr. Kirk Parsley. It's called the Sleep Remedy. I tried it recently during my Unbeatable Mind Summit, and boy, this stuff works. I can't say enough good things about it. I fell asleep quickly, didn't wake up feeling groggy, and I was like rock and rolling the next day. Doc Parsley designed this to help Navy SEAL teammates back in 2009. They had been coming to him, and they were having a huge problem with sleep. And this is not just SEALs and Spec Ops that have this problem. It's everybody, or many people, I should say, who are hyper successful. So he concocted these things from things that are normally associated with developing, or the chemicals that are in your brain that help facilitate sleep. And so he pulled them together, and now he's put it all into one, powder-based product. It's been hugely successful. He's been on the market now for a little while. And, what he said in his talk to us was that everything is degraded when you don't sleep. Your emotions, your emotional balance, your decision-making, problem-solving, your impulse control, willpower, that are all degraded because these are all controlled by your prefrontal cortex. And it gets impaired by up to 30% with one single night of sleep where you're deprived. And then furthermore, all of your hormones, testosterone, growth hormone, and they all decrease. The production of those decrease by also up to 30% with just a single night of sleep where you're deprived. And deprived could be just a limited, just an hour off. Doc Parsley's sleep remedy designed to concentrate the most important nutrients that you need when you're preparing to go to sleep. It is drug-free. It's a nutritional supplement. And thousands of people, like I said, have tried it. First responders, Navy SEALs, athletes, CEOs, and they all find that it's very useful. If you're interested in trying it, there's an unlimited, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, and you can get 10% off by entering the code Unbeatable Mind when you order it at docparsley, DOCPARSLEY.com. So enter Unbeatable Mind in the coupon code box at docparsley.com. I recommend you check it out. Hoo-yah. So the next one is Monk Warrior says, I'm awesome at starting something, but always great at the finish line. Well, I guess you could say join the club. There's a lot of people who have that issue. We have a lot of energy when we start things, and then the energy peters out because we don't know how to restore it or keep our focus on it, and we chase the next shiny thing. But he goes on to say, my guess is some sort of end game anxiety, but I'm not entirely sure what the mental block is. Any ideas would help. Well, like I said, I guess it really starts with making sure that what you choose to do is the right thing. If it's not, you're going to lose interest. Or when you realize that your goal wasn't properly assessed, it didn't fit you. And I'm talking about the FITS model that I introduced in my book, The Way of the SEAL. Does it fit your personality and your character? Is it important enough to you to stay focused on through the end? Is the timing right? Because if the timing's not right for you, you could start something and then realize that you weren't woefully unprepared, or you had all sorts of other skills you need to develop, or resources, or people, or money. And then you get sidetracked running after those, and the original thing you feel like you failed on. But the reality is you had to go get some other stuff lined up before because the timing wasn't right. And then the last in the FITS model is it simple? Have you articulated this end game, this objective in simple enough terms so that it's very clear to you, and you can drive toward it with a strong visual image of what victory looks like? So then, on the execution side of it, we've got to habituate the types of things that are going to get us there so that it just kind of like we just ratchet our way there without much fanfare, right? It's instead of making it a big deal, it's like, okay, I'm going to do these things every day. They're going to become processes. So I chunk that goal down into those actions, which I can make a simple process. And then I just do them every day and I track the progress, right? And then ultimately, then what happens is by the time you get 50, 60% of the way there, it's already pretty much in the bag. Like there's very little that could sidetrack you. I did a podcast recently with the author of Atomic Habits. So, that might be a good place to look. And he had some really good ideas that are along these lines about how to create, processes instead of habits, how to, really chunk things down, and also to set up your day so that you have these kind of like algorithms that run these if then that algorithm. So like if when I brush my teeth, then I floss my teeth, and after I floss my teeth, then I take a cold shower, and after I take a cold shower, then I do my breathing exercise, right? So these things just kind of like trigger each other. And so you can do the same thing with large, large things you're working on that maybe if you don't always get to the finish line, now you'll have some tools to do that. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Miguel H asked, "What's the difference between ego and pride?" This is interesting. Well, let me just start by saying ego is your personality. So you really kind of have to like have a descriptor in there, because ego is just you. It's not good nor bad. Now I know some authors have kind of confused it or used the term to say that ego is bad. Well, if you got rid of your ego or killed your ego, you'd be gone. Like you'd be literally brain dead, or you'd be catatonic. In the true sense of the word, your ego is your personality. Now, with your personality, you could be full of pride, or you could be full of humility. Now, this is another one our culture has gotten wrong, in my opinion. Pride is looked at as good. Now, I think for someone who is immature or in the early stages of their mental development, like a child, pride is fine. Pride is fine. It's better to have some pride in your success than it is to regret or to have shame. No doubt, because shame is the lowest form of energy. It's the most insidious. So pride is better than shame. But pride still has a negative quality to it, because pride comes at the expense of somebody else, right? I'm better than that person, or I'm even better than I was last week. So I'm proud of that. But are you saying in that thought process that you weren't a good person last week, or you weren't whole, or no? So that's the problem we have with pride. Pride has a negative quality to it. In fact, not Stephen Hawking, but the author Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote Power versus Force, which is one of my favorite books, by the way, Power versus Force, used kinesiology to measure all the different energies of the human experience. And yes, shame was the lowest form, lowest form of energy, the most insidious. Like I said, that's why shame is used to interrogate prisoners. And the highest form, of course, is infinite bliss or universal love, God connection, that kind of thing. So it's the highest form of love. And then right in the middle, practically, the first positive energy is courage. And the first negative energy, right in the pivot point, first negative energy is pride. So I would much rather say that your ego is just who you are. Now, the energy of the ego can be prideful or it can be courageous. Let's push for courageous. Courage is more positive than pride. Courage says, you know what? I've got the courage to improve myself. I've got the courage to admit my weaknesses and to see them. I've got the courage to stand my ground. That's nice. Now, as we move into courage and develop that as an emotional or egoic energy, now we want to move toward humility, because basically humility says that I'm courageous and I'm getting stuff done, but it really isn't matter to me what the outcome is, as long as I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons at the right time. So humility has non-attachment to it. Does that make sense? So we develop not detachment in the sense of being fatalistic or don't give a shit. I'm talking about not being attached to the results. It just happens. The things we do in the world, we do with great humility. We do them with full attention and full awareness, and we got a strong why to back them. And we courageously dive into them, standing our ground. But if we fail, it doesn't make us a bad person. It doesn't slow us down. It doesn't, cause us to all stop. Essentially, we just pick ourselves up, fall down 7, get up 8. We assess what we could have done better. We make some changes, deploy the OODA loop. We observe, we orient, we make a new decision, and then we go forward and act on it. And that model brings great humility. So thanks, Miguel. Great question. That's what I'm thinking on the subject. Okay, next we have Ryan. Says, I'm a big fan of box breathing. Yes, me too. It's phenomenal. It's a daily staple. Okay, so I went off on a tangent. His question, I'm become a big fan of box breathing. What other breathing exercises do you practice regularly? Okay, good. Well, box breathing is my staple every morning, every evening, oftentimes during the day. Box breathing is done when you're in a practice mode, right? It's not something you really do much on, moving about, because it requires deep concentration and awareness. But when I'm moving about and getting things done, I practice the tactical breath, which is essentially same as box breathing without the holds. And so it's if I'm on a 6 count pattern, 6 in, 6 hold, 6 out, 6 hold, then I'll just do 6 count in and 6 count out. Generally speaking, my normal pattern is around 8 count in, 8 count out, and through my nostrils, right? And so I try to maintain that. And the only time, I'm not doing that is if I'm speaking or if I'm working out, then I'll have to have a different pattern. So that's a really important one. In fact, one of the outcomes of box breathing practice is that you end up naturally gravitating toward this, what we call the tactical. I've also used the term circular breathing because the breath you want to look and feel like a circular pattern or an oval as opposed to a straight line that goes back and forth or up and down. All right. Anyways, we do great training on this, by the way, at our Unbeatable Mind Academy, we're currently calling the Academy. It's our Academy experience, which is going to be the hallmark of our training going forward for the public event side. We're launching a lot of private training, a lot of work with corporations and organizations. So if anyone wants to do this, we've done work with EO and YPO and private companies and whatnot. And we spend a lot of time over 2 days or 3 days going into all the breathing practices and how and why and the nuances and all the, witnessing process and concentration training and meditation and visualization, all these Unbeatable Mind skills. So a little sales pitch there. But if you're really looking to learn these skills and you think they're important, which I certainly do, I think they're critical for leaders and for anyone trying to, grow and develop their highest and best self, then we're here to teach you how to do it through these trainings. And you can find out all the information at unbeatablemindcom. At any rate, back to this. So the other breaths, besides box breathing and the tactical / circular breath, every morning in my cold shower, I do something I call the energy breath. And if anyone of you have been to my SEALFIT Academies or the summit, the energy breath is a forceful inhale and exhale through the mouth or the nose. We've done it in both ways, but it's intense. It's quick, right? Like that, or like that. I know that sounds kind of weird, probably in a podcast, but it's really intense and it has an arm movement associated with it. So hard to really convey in a audio podcast, but when you learn how to do it, it's an intense way to wake up, draws a lot of energy in the body, and it's a real etch-a-sketch for the brain. Awesome stuff. And then the other one that we do a lot of is called the warrior breath. And this is kind of like our version of Wim Hof. We've been doing it for probably as long. It is we do it through the nose, which I think might be different. But warrior breathing is a sharp, long inhale through the nose and a soft exhale through the mouth like this. And I'll do, 30 or 40 of these, and then I'll hold my breath at the end. Another pattern we do is 9. We call it the 9 breaths. So we'll do 9 of those and hold our breath. And in those breath holds, I practice my visualization. So there you go. Those are some of the things I do daily. And it's fun. They just kind of roll out into my life when I need them. And they have a big impact. Okay, Luna asks, I'm thinking about coming over, and she must be overseas. I'm coming over for Kokoro in October 2019. I feel like it's a challenge that I need in my life journey, but how can I be sure it's the case? Well, I tell you what, if if anyone who's done Kokoro has a burning desire to do Kokoro, it's really hard to be voluntold to do Kokoro or just go in with it lukewarm. So if you're not sure, then I recommend you do a trial run. Either come to one of our 12-hour 20Xs or 24-hour 20XL events and just test it out. Make sure it's something that you really want and need to do. If you can't make it or it's too far to come, then run your own version of that, right? Run your own version. So like recently I did 24 hours of burpees nonstop, no sleep, easy day. That was a good indicator to me of how I would do on a 24-hour push or 50-hour push of nonstop physical mental training, like a Kokoro camp. So if you don't have a burning desire and why, then try something that's going to prove to you that either you get a hell yes or a hell no. If you don't have a hell yes for Kokoro, then don't come. Really, you really shouldn't do that unless you have a hell yes, burning why, and knowledge around why you need to do this. So, continue to do the work to clarify what it is you want out of it. How is it going to affect you or change you? What's missing in you where you think it, is going to be the type of event that will change you? And then, test it. Test your motivation to see if it's real. Cool.
No doubt, I believe that mindset is the key towards succeeding in virtually every goal in your life. Success relies on mental performance, from your willpower to focus to emotional control, concentration. And people that have these skills stick to the goals, stick to their workout schedules, stick to their diets, and crush it in their careers and improving every aspect of their lives, becoming the best version of themselves that they can be. So caring for your body is awesome, but what about caring for your brain? If you're not caring for that, you're overlooking half the battle. That's where Qualia Mind comes in. Brought to us by Neurohacker Collective, Qualia Mind is the most comprehensive mental nutrition product on the market. It's designed to improve focus, clarity, and your mental energy within 30 minutes of taking it. Go to neurohacker.com, that's neurohacker.com, to try Qualia Mind and use the code Unbeatable for 15% off your first purchase. That's neurohacker.com. Try Qualia Mind or any of their other products with the coupon code Unbeatable and improve the quality of your mind. Hoo-yah.
Alex asks, when's your next book coming out? What will be focusing on? Thanks for asking. I'm working on the final chapters of the book that I'm calling Uncommon now, which is the evolution of the book I started calling Launch to help, people who are kind of starting something new or even starting a new career or starting out in life could really launch themselves with a lot of power using kind of the Unbeatable Mind principles. So in a way, it really is the sequel to Unbeatable Mind because I go into a lot of topics in much more fidelity than I had or detail than I really did in Unbeatable Mind, such as, the whole process for developing your witnessing mind, what that even means, your concentration. I've got some concentration trainings in there, visualization. I've got a great chapter on habituation, developing warrior virtues. I got a whole chapter on learning how to communicate with heart and different communication strategies, chapter on emotional development, overcoming your boo. And I'm also it's much more personal and intimate. Like I get into some of my own boo that I had to overcome and, some family dynamics and stuff like that. It's been a little challenging to write that because, it's not stuff that my family will want to hear, so we'll see how that comes out. Anyways, I'll report back to you. So I'm going to get that out probably not probably, but in February or March. I haven't set an exact date. I'm going to be using a company to help me push it across the finish line in terms of getting it all packaged and and looking professional, and then to market it properly. So I'm self-publishing this book, so I'm not using a major publisher, so I can set my own deadline. Pretty excited about it. Anytime I'm nervous about putting out a piece of work, then I generally think it's going to be good. But this one I'm nervous about because I think it's definitely goes a lot deeper into areas that I think will be really helpful, but some new territory for me. Okay, that's that. Next question is a little tricky from Mike F. My spouse is just the queen of negativity where it's dragging me down. Is there a way that I can help her redirect her thoughts and try to be more positive? Oh boy. Mike, this is a tough one. First, I would say protect yourself energetically from negativity. That includes from family members or your spouse. And you're going to do that with your visualization and your energetic shields, so to speak. And so, in your morning ritual, put, the warrior shield on mentally and energetically, and don't let the negativity bring you down, right? Because it will drag you down. So you can't let that happen. If it wasn't your wife, if it was any other relationship, I would say consider leaving it, right? Because it's really difficult to change another human being. You really can't, actually. People have to change themselves. So for you to say, hey, what can I do to change my wife? It's a sticky thing. Having said that, because someone, when someone's that close to you and you've invested, a large part of your life to be with this person, then it's certainly worth a try. And so that try can look like letting her know how her words are landing with you and to help her to see how they're impacting you negatively. And that's basically what we'll call a crucial or a critical conversation. But do it, from the heart. I just mentioned a little while ago that I've got a chapter in my new book on communicating from the heart. This is actually one of the, a topic that I talk about, not exactly, this, but how critical it is to really have those conversations with people who have some sort of negative communication that are bringing us down, and it's worth having the conversation. So, for instance, if your boss is really like this, then guess what? You can sit there and be miserable and just leave, or you can have a crucial conversation and help them understand how their words are landing with you. And one of the key tenets we have is, that Unbeatable Mind is you got to be responsible for how your words land with other people. So help her to see that, her words are really bringing you down. And maybe if you have kids, they're bringing the kids down. The whole environment is being impacted, and that's just an awareness. So you're not trying to change her. You're not trying to say, do this or do that, but just say, this is what's happening in my life, right? This is the impact these words are having. And you may not be aware of it, but, I need to make you aware of it because it's hurting me or it's dragging me down or whatever language you need to use, but just be heartfelt about it. Difficult conversations are so important, even though they're difficult, right? But you got to do them. Once you do them, boy, energy can change really quickly because it just unsticks things. She might not be aware, right? I think most people who have negative dialogue are unaware of it because it's part of their boo or their background of obviousness. It's the way that they were brought up. It was the language of their household or their family of origin. That's the way it was with me, right? My family of origin had, stinging, biting, sarcastic, language, and a lot of anger and a lot of aggressive languaging. And I didn't, but I kind of took the opposite approach. And so I became more passive and submissive. And I had to change that, right? Yeah, I had to be aware that the language, the boo, the background was what led to that, to my own, inability to communicate effectively. It takes time, but it was really helpful to have someone point it out to me. That's where I'm coming at. So if no one's pointing it out to your wife, then she may not be aware. There's one of the most powerful communication and emotional development programs out there is called the Hoffman process. That might be something that you do, and you do. You can't do it with your wife, but you kind of recommend. Check it out. Yeah, I won't say any more on that. So that's kind of a referral, but just check it out. See what you learn from that. A lot of people have found that very, very useful. Now, you don't want to shove stuff down your wife's throat. Like, I wouldn't say, "Hey, honey, this guy Mark Divine I've been following says you got to feed the courage wolf, and so we're going to practice feeding the courage wolf. Anytime you're negative, I'm going to interdict you and we're going to change the dialogue to positive dialogue. She'll probably get pissed if you say that, and you're just going to push her away. But in your own mind, you can be doing that, and you can model, positive dialogue, around her and with her. And she might think it's corny at first, but do it in a very, I guess, discreet and judicious manner, right? And if it doesn't, if these ideas don't help, and I think someone else, some of the people listening probably have some great ideas on this too, and I encourage you guys to post them as comments or questions, at the podcast websites, either markdevine.com/podcast or unbeatablemindcom/podcast, because this is an important topic. It's not easy. Definitely not easy. This is one of the trickier ones, but it's worth exploring and really getting into. Just going to a communication seminar, doing something with your wife, if she's open to doing the work, will start to open up the dialogue. Cool. Mark N asks, I have difficulty with meditating. My mind seems to bounce around. Any tips to quiet the mind? Well, yeah, I've got some tips. And by the way, join the club. That's the monkey mind. Your brain is going to be distracted and bouncing around. That's what it does. This is why, I've often said that people fail meditating because it's impossible to just start meditating. It's like, if you have no skills in, playing golf, then I'm not going to be a good golfer. I'm not going to suddenly just go out on the course and shoot like a 70 or whatever, or, be like Tiger Woods. It's not going to happen. You got to start at the beginning, and the beginning for training the mind is box breathing. It's getting your physiology, of which your brain is a big physiological lump of gray matter. It's getting the physiology of your body, brain, to essentially to be balanced and detoxified and unagitated-fied. I just made that word up. And so first we start with box breathing. And that practice in and of itself, I would just do for literally 6 to 9 months before worrying about meditation. The problem I think a lot of us have is that meditating has become, a word that it means something different to every single person who hears it. For a lot of people, meditating is, anything that you do with your eyes closed. Well, that's not the way I look at it. Or, downloading an app like my Headspace and just following along with some sort of guided visualization or guided talk. That's not meditating. That's contemplating, right? So you have to understand the differences. This is, like I said earlier, a big chunk of what we go into in our Unbeatable Mind Academy, immersion experience trainings. We want to help people understand the whole continuum that starts with box breathing, and then it leads to developing concentration and focus. And then we cultivate a connection with the witnessing mind, and we create what we call the simultaneous mind. And so the simultaneous mind is where you can begin to watch your thinking mind from your perceiving mind or your witnessing mind, and then you can begin to curate the quality, the quantity, and the direction of your thinking, that monkey mind. And now we're starting to get somewhere, and still we haven't even meditated yet. And then we work on imagery so that we can control the imagery and use it for maximum effect. And when we develop all those skills, then just naturally we're able to, have deep periods of unfettered meditation where we get great insights and experience, the refined potential that all of us have, right? The potential that lies deep inside of us. So that's meditation. You're not alone. You have to follow the trail markers to get there. You can't just jump into the deep end and expect to be good at it. Having said that, with practice, right, we can get there, but it takes time. Got to be patient. Keith says, as a parent, I want to instill in my kids strong leadership skills, whether it's in sports, school, or elsewhere. If you were talking to a teenager, what would you tell them a great leader should have? Well, I would tell them a great leader should be trustworthy. How do I trust someone? Well, I trust someone who's good to me, who's fair, who speaks from the heart, who cares about me. and who follows up on their word. If they say they're going to do something, they do it. Guess what? That type of person is a highly evolved individual. That type of person is someone who's developed an unbeatable mind, whether through our training or on their own. Those are the skills of the leader. The future leader, right, is someone who can be trustworthy, who can trust, someone who can connect to their heart so they have a deep care and concern for other individuals, someone who cares about the environment and the world, someone who's learned to communicate well and takes responsibility for their language and for making sure their communication elevates instead of cuts down or denigrates. Those are the types of skills that our future leaders will need to develop. And I'll do my part. So I appreciate you doing yours. That's that, folks. Thanks again for listening. I hope this was useful to you. Sure have fun doing it. I'll do more of these in the future. Next solo cast I do, I'll probably get back on track with reading chapters from the new book, Uncommon, that I'm working on. And until next time, stay focused, train hard, embrace the suck, do today what others won't so you can do tomorrow what others can't. Hoo-yah, divine out.
Lock and load, boys. Time to explode, boys. Make sure you get home, boys. They got your back, the pride of the fleets, the bright swinging frogmen.